additions or deletions to the agenda? Not seeing any. I'll move on to item number 3. I'll look for direction from council regarding the approval of the agenda. Councilor Buckingham.
That the agenda dated September 9th, 2019 be approved.
Seconder. Councilor Bagnall. Any further discussion before I call for the question? Not seeing any. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. I'll look for direction from council. Councilor Buckingham.
The regular council minutes dated August 26th, 2019 be approved.
Seconder. Councilor Monroe. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item number 5, is there any business that arose from those minutes? Not seeing any. I'll move to item number 6, 6.1, City Manager.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Council. To present 6.11, Bylaw 18, 2019, Property Tax Penalty Bylaw, I'll ask Kyle Seller to come forward.
Thank you, City Manager. Good afternoon, Council, Your Worship.
Good afternoon, Kyle.
The subject matter today is the Property Tax Penalty Bylaw number 18-2019. The recommendation is that Council grant second reading for Bylaw number 18-2019, Property Tax Penalty Bylaw, and also grant third reading for Bylaw number 18-2019, Property Tax Penalty Bylaw. The issue administration has reviewed the existing property tax penalty bylaw and determined that it requires an update to bring it into alignment with best practices of other municipalities in Alberta and Saskatchewan. The existing property tax penalty bylaw was approved in 2012 and has not been updated since. This bylaw sets the rate for penalties on unpaid taxes and sets the due date for taxes. Previously, penalties were charged on current taxes at a rate of 1% per month from July to December for a total of 6%. Penalties were also charged on tax arrears twice annually on January 1st and July 1st at a rate of 5% for a 10% total. The existing penalty structure does not incentivize payment of outstanding taxes until they become tax arrears the following year. The new property tax penalty bylaw will bring the penalties charged on unpaid taxes into alignment with best practices of what municipalities in Alberta and Saskatchewan are charging. The new bylaw will change the due date to due upon mailing, and penalty dates will be set corresponding to the date the penalty is charged. The new penalty structure will increase the penalties on current taxes, promote prompt payment of taxes in the current year, and reduce the frequency of penalties being charged. This will reduce the need to apply penalties monthly and give property owners a few months of relief between penalties to catch up on outstanding balances. The new property tax penalty bylaw will also move the penalty dates from July 1st and January 1st to avoid conflict with holidays and City Hall closures. The clause in Section 5.2 will ensure that City Hall will always be open on the final day prior to the penalty being added to the tax roll, in order to give the taxpayer every opportunity to pay their taxes at City Hall prior to being penalized. This bylaw was first presented for review at the Governance and Priorities Committee meeting on August 19, 2019, and received first reading at the August 26th regular council meeting. Outlined here the new proposed penalty dates and amounts. With total current penalties of 12% and total arrears penalties of 15%, with penalty dates on July 10th, September 10th, November 10th for current year taxes, and January 10th, April 10th, and September 10th for tax arrears. The options are the council grant second and third readings for bylaw number 18-2019, property tax penalty bylaw. This will bring the penalty bylaw into alignment with best practices of other municipalities in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Option 2, the council not grant second and third readings for bylaw number 18-2019, property tax penalty bylaw. Administration would bring further information in the bylaw back to a subsequent council meeting, but this would delay preparation for implementation of this bylaw. And option 3 is the council rejects second and third readings of bylaw number 18-2019. So defeat the bylaw and the existing bylaw would remain in effect. So is there any questions?
Thank you, Tom. Councilor Torres.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is going to be kind of an odd way to approach this, but I'm not sure if we necessarily should be looking at this today versus a future date when we're dealing with the pad agreements. So I've been looking into the pad agreements, which I realize we're talking about this, but what I found in looking into them is it's fairly uncommon for, or not very common for municipalities to grab taxes for a future year when you're doing them. So the pad agreement essentially says this is what you paid this year, we're going to split it up into 12 equal payments and you can start kind of paying directly to the city on pre-authorized debit so that you can pay for it over the course of the year. But what I found is uncommon is actually grabbing for the future year. So it's that first 6 months of the year. It's not very common. Normally what they do is they allow you to sign up as of January 1st and you pay for it over the course of the year. There's an adjustment midway through the year, but then you're actually paying for the due date with those pad agreements to December 31st. That's what's commonplace. So my comment to this is, I'm not sure if we should be implementing these penalties that would essentially be applying a penalty at July 10th, when if we are adjusting that pad agreement to follow the way almost everywhere else does, it makes it so that your tax are actually December 31st. That makes sense? Or is it?
Yeah, I understand. Thanks for the question. I think that most pad agreements are exempt from penalty. So they're a separate agreement from the tax penalty. So they're two different issues.
So we're saying that there can be, if you're paying annually, there can be a penalty applied on July 10th if you pay all at once. But if you're within a pad agreement, then that exempts you from the penalties and you can continue to pay, and any balance owing at July 10th is no longer interest eligible, whereas a pad agreement, or pad agreements are not interest eligible, but if you're not involved in one, then it is interest eligible.
Right, so typically you'll be paid 6 months in advance and then 6 months after the typical penalty date. So it makes it a win-win for the property owner and the city.
But that's not, just to be clear, that's not the way it was proposed in the bylaw that was proposed last week. It's not, you're paying for the following year.
That's
And the
correct.
deadline is July, or June 30th in terms of where the year renews. Whereas in most other places, it's a January 1st to December 31st.
That's correct. Under our current system, you're actually prepaying from July until June. So it doesn't really affect the penalties because
Okay.
you're actually prepaying property taxes.
That give you an explanation, Councilor?
Well, the part that gives me an explanation is if you're involved in a PAD or pre-authorized debit agreement, then these penalties don't apply to you.
Right.
Unless you were a year off or like an amount that's off, but then how these penalties actually apply, I think would be a little convoluted and confusing. But let's just say you're exempt from them because annually is being dealt with and recalculated, so you should be fine.
Yeah,
Councilor Patrick.
two parts. I don't see them being in conflict with each other. I see why it looks odd because of the way the year structure is. One's in prior and the other the last 6 months. But I mean, if you're in the pad, you're excluded from the penalty only if you don't default on your payments. So if, you know, you keep taking your, if all of a sudden March you run out of money, you will still have to pay the balance by June 30th, after that, which point you will then be in arrears and be facing the penalties that are being proposed here.
Yeah, and I think I'm clear on that now, is that the exemption, if you're within the PAD, doesn't apply to this, so we can approve this today and it wouldn't affect anything. I'm on side with that now. But I had to think that out loud and get that exemption clarified.
Councilor Buckingham.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted a little bit of clarity on the due upon mailing piece in this, because right now, when the taxes go out, they'll be saying that they're due June 30th. So if they're mailed out in the last part of May, which they usually are on the holiday Monday in May there, they're not in arrears until after June 30th anyway, correct?
That's correct. So the due upon mailing is just meaning that they're technically due at that point. There's still no penalty being charged till July 10th.
Right. Good, thank you.
And I guess that's where I'm leading the next question, Kyle, if I may. Taxes need to be paid the end of July 9th, correct? That's the way I read this. July 10th, we're charging 3%. If you, or that's, maybe I should ask the question, when's the last day you can pay your taxes in July and not be penalized moving forward, just so it's absolutely clear and we can share with the taxpayers?
So the way it actually reads is that July 10th would be the very last day to make payment. They would have till end of the day, and then penalty would be applied that following.
Okay, so it is July 10th,
Yeah,
September 10th, that day, and after that, you will have a penalty.
that's correct, unless that day falls on a weekend, and that day moves forward, and then it's after that deemed penalty.
So basically, at the end of the day here, different from years previous, people have 10 more days, realistically,
Yeah,
than they've been used to.
that's correct.
Any other questions? Councilor Baker.
Yours, if I'm not sure of the question, I thought about this since the last GPC meeting, and we had a list of municipalities across the country and small cities and large cities, and what they charge or don't charge for late payment. And I really have trouble when we go out to find ways to penalize people that live in our community. When you add up the numbers, I presume those are compounded. I'm not sure, but I think they're compounded from quarter to quarter to quarter. And I think that they're just fine the way they are. And people don't normally not pay their taxes unless they're struggling. Most people realize there's two things in life, death and taxes. And they do pay their taxes. But people do struggle at times. And does that justify raising the rates? Because some other municipality doesn't. You know, sometimes you can be number one and be low. You don't have to be the highest. You don't have to be in the middle. And quite frankly, I don't care what a lot of cities do. I'm only interested in what we have to do to maintain our city. And I think over the last 100 years, we haven't done too bad. And with that in mind, I have to say I'm going to vote against this motion to leave it the way it is, because it's just a constant add. And, you know, sometimes we've got to take a step back and look at those that aren't quite as fortunate as others. And so I just have to say what I have to say. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. If I can just add one thing, the penalties are actually not compounded.
Well, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Kyle. Councilor Dutch.
So Kyle, if people don't pay their taxes, where do we get the money then to run the city?
Thank you, Councilor Dijak.
No, I'm just wondering, because we have a penalty for people who don't pay, so I'm assuming that there must be a cost to us if people don't pay their taxes.
Well, if those taxes aren't paid, then obviously that cash flow would have to come from somewhere else. The purpose of this penalty bylaw is to incentivize payment in the current year, so that we're obtaining that payment so that the city has the money that it needs to run in the current year as approved in the budget.
And if sufficient people don't pay taxes, do we have to borrow the money then?
That could be an alternative, I would say.
So we would be expected to pay interest on that money then?
It would eventually end up on all the other taxpayers.
That's where I was going. So eventually the people who are paying then will actually have to pay the interest on the money that's borrowed because other people aren't paying. Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Putnam.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just for those people that haven't been following along all the way through this, what is the difference between the penalties we are currently charging and the penalties we're proposing today, just so we have that discussion, so we can compare the two, because it hasn't really been brought forward?
Yeah, so thank you, Councilor Buckingham. So as outlined in the RFD, the current penalties are 1% per month on the current year taxes from July to December for a 6% total. Taxes on our arrears are 5% on January 1st and July 1st for a total of 10%. So those current taxes are going to 12%, but only being charged 3 times instead of 6 times. And the arrears penalties are still 5%, but it's 3 times instead of 2 times.
So it's close. We're not making an astronomical change to the number is the point I was trying to make.
No.
Councilor Baker.
If I could just have a follow-up question or an answer. We do collect interest if you don't pay the tax, and it's a lot higher than the bank interest rate that this city would pay. As far as I know, and what as far as I can see. And the little bit of money that is left after a full year has been relatively low for many, many, many years. And I do give the tax department credit, they do collect the taxes. And it might be 3 months late, 2 months late, 6 months late. But they do their job, and the odd person needs a little time, a little help. And we do collect somewhere in the neighborhood of 11%. What is it, 1% per month or whatever it is? 11% as it is. I'm not sure that we pay the bank 1% per month if we have to borrow Linux money. To the best of my knowledge, every year we approve a borrowing system for the finance department if they need it. I don't recall when we borrowed money the last time to operate the city and that we had to use that line of credit. And I stand to be corrected. But in that case, we do collect 11%, which should more than cover any shortage that we may or may not have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Thorson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I guess back on the subject of the particular bylaw we're dealing with today, what I had said at the last meeting when we did the first reading of this, I actually believe that we are striking the balance with the percentages that we are putting within this bylaw. It does incentivize payment on time, but for those who are running a little bit behind, it doesn't necessarily kick them when they're down compared to what was initially proposed. And even, you know, when you look at what happened in a lot of other cities, I think we're kind of providing a balance in that way with an increasing percentage over those periods so that it's, you know, it really is only kind of kicking in, you know, after November is where it really kind of the rubber hits the road and fees get a little bit higher, but it really does provide the incentive to do that. But the other thing to look at is that we are also providing the tools from a budgeting perspective for individuals so that they can pay their taxes over the course of a year and looking at potential or additional options to do that so that people aren't necessarily having to pay it all at once so that that 3% that's remaining at that date isn't necessarily the whole tax bill. We're providing as many tools as we can to try and get it as easy on people's budget as well. Sure, there's some benefit to the city in doing that, but at the same time, you're providing an option for individuals to kind of bite it off in smaller chunks and then not necessarily kicking them while they're down if they had a bad month and they missed one of their payments that they had budgeted. So I think if you look at this in isolation, I see how you could make the argument that you're really jacking things up on people, but I think when you look at the entire system and the entire package, we're taking a balanced approach to try and help people get through the course of the year to pay the taxes on time. This is going to turn into a real rant, but I said this the other day to a taxpayer who was asking just about property taxes in general. So we as a municipality essentially have one tool to get revenue for all the services we provide. When you look at a provincial government or a federal government, they have several tools within their toolbox. If you, if you make $100,000 a year at 10% tax, you pay $10,000. If you make $101,000 next year, you're going to pay $10,010. It moves up every year if your wage moves up. Property taxes sometimes go up, they sometimes move around, but just because it happens all at once, Oh man, it sounded so much more eloquent when I said to the taxpayer. At the end of the day, it's proportional to the value of your property, and it's the only tool that we have. If we had the ability to do property or personal taxes or a sales tax like they do in some jurisdictions in the States, we would be having a much different conversation. And because this is our only tool, this is the only way we can do it, and it just so happens to be that it's due once annually. Personal taxes, income tax can come off your check every month. You don't even notice it happening over the course of the year. So I think providing all the tools that we can to try and help people to be able to deal with it on their own, as well as setting up some incentive for them to catch up when they get behind, I think is the right thing to do in fairness to all taxpayers. Thank you. Bye-bye. I kind of went on with this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor, thank you, Councilor.
I think that there's another group of people out there as well, and those are the ones that have investments and are taking a look going on our old model. That's 6% that they would be paid over 6 months, as well as from an administration point of view, we're sending out 6 notices there as well. So the cost-wise, but I don't think it's necessarily the people that are in need, but more so those that might be using it more to their own investments. To further ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Thatcher.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to add, I guess, I think, what Councilor Torres added is that this is but one of several tools in administration's toolbox. And I mean, we've had reports coming here from Scott Preddy in finance and how they've worked with, homeowners to find payment schedules, to assist them and find a way for them to make it all the way through. And I get it. We've had motions where we've had to go through the process because of the charter and to go to foreclosure at some point and whatnot in order to achieve those funds. But even at that point, there still is, the opportunity to work with them and get a payment fund so that, the city is really interested in foreclosing and getting the property. That's not the point. The amount of taxes owed compared to what the value of the property, there tends to be a significant gap between those two numbers. This is just one more tool. And as a councillor has so eloquently shared at great lengths on that too, it's one more tool. In some ways, it actually favors individual homeowners when it comes to paying their taxes as well.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any, I'll look for direction from Councilor. 6.1.1. Councilor Thatcher.
Council grants second reading for bylaw number 18-2019, property tax penalty bylaw.
Seconder. Councilor Monroe. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Could you have it recorded, Your Worship?
Councilor, I can have the next one recorded, but we actually have to have the recorded call before the vote. So I understand from the city clerk. So
Doesn't matter.
If you'd like the third vote recorded or next vote recorded?
No, that's okay.
I'll look for direction from council regarding the second recommendation. Councilor Thatcher.
Council grant third and final reading for bylaw number 18-2019, property tax penalty bylaw.
Seconded. Councilor Monroe. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Kyle.
Thank you.
Moving on, City Manager, to 6.3, the Office of the City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship, to present 6.3.1, policy 120-02, records management policy. I'll turn it over to City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. The item we have before you today is Council approved policy 120-02, the records management policy. The issue is that the City of Lloydminster currently does not have a records policy regarding records management or retention. The records management is an essential key to a municipality and allows more effective management of records, reduced level of record keeping redundancies, reduced cost of storage, and timely access to information. This policy includes records retention schedule, which will determine the duration of each record within the record that the city will retain. This policy was first presented at the August 19, 2019 Government Priorities Committee meeting. Since the initial review of the draft policy, administration has made a few adjustments to clarify that peace officer videos are retained for 1 year unless they are part of the prosecution, which would then be a 5-year requirement. The options are the council approve the policy, the council approve the policy with amendments, or the council request administration to no further information. alignment with the strategic plan. This policy aligns with the strategic priority of legislative compliance. Having proper records management policy in place will meet the legislative requirements of the Lloydminster Charter and the Local Authority Freedom of Information Protection Act and Privacy Act. Once again, the government implications is it does align with the requirements of Section 151D of the Lloydminster Charter, which requires the city to keep and maintain records.
Thank you, City Clerk. Questions, comments? Councilor Patrick.
Sure. Again, I'm kind of surprised we haven't had this in place for some time, and I'm glad to see that this policy's come forth. We can operate under obviously the provincial direction and the federal direction of the FOIP and whatnot, but having a policy per organization gives us the guidance at the operational level, so I'm pleased to see this document.
And just one item, just to point out, so we manage council's expectation. If you look at section 4.3, this policy applies going forward. Administration will work backwards to try and get compliance. It's just that's an item that will take some time.
Which I understand. Any other comments or questions? I echo Councilor Dodchuck's comments. I think this is long overdue. I know that we do have significant records sitting in various places that need to be dealt with, and I know the administration will tackle that accordingly. I think setting the goals that we're setting now and milestones will help city administration move forward, because in the day and age of computers, it seems to be generating more paper than before. So certainly having the records maintained properly, I think is very important for everybody, and allows access when required for those items. So, thank you. Councilor.
I mean, this is a really good thing. I read it about 3 times, and I just shook my head and said, I'm glad somebody else is doing this. The one question I had, though, just more out of curiosity, for knowledge sake, are these kept electronically or man? You got to keep every record that's listed there. You're going to have to go to another city hall, or can we store them electronically?
Some records you're required to keep the originals of, others you're required, you can
You
keep
only have to go
electronic.
half city hall. Okay.
This hopes to cut down on our storage requirements.
Oh, for sure. Thank you, just a question.
Oh, good question, Councilor. Trust me, we discuss this regularly.
Yeah, I was going to add that what we found out when we implemented it with the school division, we actually created room because we realized there was some stuff we're hanging on to we weren't supposed to. So we found a whole bunch of boxes that were dated from way the heck back and said, why are we keeping these? We're no longer required. So it's just that knowledge of what to keep and not to keep. And in the past, when you didn't have the policy, you were unsure, you kept it. You found space and built it, and then when you had the policy in place, you went, no, we don't have to do this anymore. It's a time when it expires and move it on. So just actually create, there's a big positive backside of this too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think administration, it gets the elephant off their back from the perspective, do we throw it away or not? It's cut and dried. Policy in place, and it answers the question that many people, no one wants to answer that question sometimes, right?
There's companies with warehouses full of
Paper.
paper,
Yeah, absolutely. Any other comments? Not seeing any. I look for council's direction on 6.3.1. Councilor Buckingham.
The council approved policy 120-02, the records management policy.
Seconder, Councilor Baker. Any further discussion before I call for the question? Not seeing any. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to 6.3.2, back to the city clerk. No problem.
Thank you, Your Worship. The next item up is the ATCO franchise agreements. And the recommendation that council maintain the current ATCO franchise agreement fees set for 2020. The current franchise agreements allow council to make an annual adjustment to the franchise fees. The current franchise fees agreement with ATCO Gas and ATCO Electric have been in place since May 14, 2018. As the agreements allow for council to make annual adjustments to the franchise fees, administration is looking for guidance on the fee adjustments. If any changes are requested by council, ATCO will guide administration through the regulatory process, which generally requires a council resolution, a public notice in the local paper. Residents will then have 45 days to object to the municipality. Prior to December 1st, the municipality must submit a letter to the ATCO fee changes, and ATCO applies the Alberta Utility Commission for the changes rate. The AUC must approve the rate change prior to it taking effect. And currently, the ATCO franchise fee is currently 25%, and the ATCO electric franchise fee is currently 11%. The options are that council maintain the current ATCO gas and electric franchise fees for 2020, that ATCO amend the current ATCO gas and ATCO electric franchise fees, and the council direct administration to bring back additional information on those fees. This item is in alignment with the following strategic area: sustainable fiscal strategy. Annual review of the current franchise fees ensures that the city is being fiscally responsible. The franchise fees agreements, which are a bylaw, allow for the city the option to amend the franchise fees percentage annually. And the budget financial implications are that any adjustments to the franchise fees will impact the budget, with the impact depending on if it's increased or decreased. In 2020, the municipality is projected to receive approximately $2,146,055 for ATCO gas and $3,274,121 from ATCO electric. A 1% change to the ATCO gas franchise fees is approximately $85,000, and 1% to the ATCO change to the ATCO electric franchise fees is approximately $297,000.
Thank you, City Clerk. Questions, comments? I'll look for direction.
That council. Nope.
Councilor Baker.
Your Worship, I think this is a good bylaw that's put together well. I think what's important for everybody to know the reason for franchise utilities. The one major important I stand to be corrected and helped by administration. But it's important to realize that all the right-of-ways and phone lines and, overhead lines and all that stuff is on city property. And we can only use it for one thing, and that's to mow the grass, grade it, and look after it. So the city gets the bill maintaining those right-of-ways. And there's miles of it throughout the city. So if anyone's wondering where the money goes, it goes towards helping pay for maintenance of all those utility right-of-ways in our city. And there may be a little more to it than that, but I think it's important that people know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. Good point. Any other comments? We'll turn back to Councilor Franklin.
That council maintain the current ATCO gas and ATCO electric franchise fees for 2020.
Seconder? Councilor Monroe. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving on to agenda item 6.6, operations. City Manager.
Thank you, Your Worship. To present 6.6.1, Airport Capital Assistance Program Funding Readjustment. I'll ask William Ferris to come forward.
Hello, Worship, council members.
Good afternoon, Wade.
I'm here for an RFD for -015-19. It's recommended that council approves the allowance for the allocation of the amount of $45,039.50 plus GST to integrated airport systems for the runway rehabilitation project 1834005 be funded through the expected 2019 capital budget, expected year and surplus. The issue monies in the amount of $45,039.50 for the Lloydminster Airport runway project, again 1834005, will not be reimbursed to the City of Lloydminster through the Airport Capital Assistance Program, ACAP funding. Background would be the administration provided an update at August 19, 2019 Governance and Priority Committee meeting that the monies in the amount of $45,039.50 were not eligible for reimbursement at as part of the Airport Capital Assistance funding. Transport Canada was clear in the fact that they will only fund the lowest bid for phase 1 and 2 of the project. There was no indication, there was no indicator that from Transport Canada that the funding application process was still under review, and approval from amount was not final at the time of the 2019 funding announcement by Transport Canada. The option that council approves the allocation of the amount of $45,039.50 plus GST to integrated airport systems for the airport rehabilitation project 1834005 be funded through the 2019 capital budget expected year-end surplus. 2 would be that council directs administration to gather more information to present at the next council meeting. Budget and financial implications. The monies in the amount of $45,039.50 are not eligible for reimbursement as part of the airport capital assistance funding. And the reason is that Integrated Airport Limited did not submit the lowest qualifying bid at $99,115 as per the original RFP. To complete phase 1 and 2 of the ACAP application process, the RFP was originally awarded to Genevar for the amount of $54,075.50.
5. Thank you, Wade. So, Councillor
Your Worship, so to be clear, we have savings from other projects that didn't fund this. That's what I'm gathering.
Yeah, originally, had we stuck with Genevar, we would have been 100% funded for their $54,000.
Yeah.
But because we opted to go with the next guys, we had to pay the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Just I think to clarify, you're asking where the money's coming from in terms of?
Yeah, I heard 2 words. One is in my head, savings, and the other one was surplus.
Sure.
And I always thought we realized savings on projects.
Yeah, this is from, when we talk about the surplus, we're talking about year-end or the budget overall for the Terra City, not this particular project. So in the future, when the reserve policy comes forward later this month, there'll be a more direct approach in terms of where the money will be specified to come from. At this time, we don't have that approach, so hopefully in the future, the airport, as an example, will have a reserve that we can pull this money from.
Okay.
If I can ask, I know that some of the information I've been gathering, but the contract that was originally awarded to Genevar was originally awarded a number of years ago before this project finally got approved by Transport Canada. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was something that this council didn't see at the front end. I think that numerous things have changed in that point, and it's, I think there's a whole bunch of technical pieces behind this. This is what we're left with today, and I think that the project now, I believe, is complete.
As of last night, we're complete, yeah.
Terrific. So we reached a milestone, and we did not bad. I'd like to say we did good. I think we got $5.7 million grant money, and I don't know if we'll spend all of it because it didn't quite cover the whole bill. But at the end of the day, we've gained a surface that will be second to none at our airport.
Yeah, just to speak that on a little bit, Your Worship. Through that process, there were costs associated with the completion of that process. So I want council to be aware that we may be coming back with some other additional costs that may not be approved through the ACAP funding. So just keep that on your radar. It's minimal costs with regards to the overall project, but I wanted council to be aware we may need to come back and seek additional funds that are ineligible for the grant. So,
and then I think we were familiar with the wastewater treatment plant as we went through this. They didn't cover everything we knew that was going to be part of it. And I guess that's one of the things after we're dealing with our federal government, it's not always perfect. It's, I guess we settle for what we get. Any other comments? If not, I'll have direction from council regarding 6.6.1 Airport Capital Assistance Program funding readjustment.
that council approve the allocation in the amount of $45,039.50 plus GST to Integrated Airport Systems Limited for the Airport Runway Rehabilitation Project, number 1834005, to be funded through the realized savings from the 2019 capital projects.
Seconder? Councilor Demchuk. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Wade. Moving on to agenda item 6.6.2.
Thank you, Worship. To present 6.6.2, mechanical wastewater treatment facility technology vendor. I'll ask Terry Burke to come over.
Afternoon, Council, Mayor.
Good afternoon, Terry.
So some information on the mechanical wastewater treatment facility, specifically the technology vendor. Recommendation that Council award the mechanical wastewater treatment facility technology vendor to Suez Water Technologies and Solutions Canada, or AKA Suez. The issue is obviously with the wastewater treatment facility, we need to do something to upgrade it to meet the environmental requirements associated with it. On the background, we issued an RFP back on July 22nd of 2019, which closed on August 21st of this year. We received 4 proposals. One did not meet the mandatory requirements and thus weren't evaluated. The proposals were reviewed on a variety of criteria, including experience and capabilities, proposed project delivery and collaboration, value added and innovative practices, and an interview of the top proponents. The results of the initial review, so this is the review of the actual proposals that we received, had Suez at 346, Nexum at 323 change, and Waste and Water Tech at 201. The decision was to move forward with interviews of the three proponents, and as such, the final scoring, as you can see, is Suez came out at 504.5. Nexum at 370 and Waste and Water Tech at 311.5. Next steps involved in the project were procuring the remaining IPT teams. This would include potentially like architects, civil engineers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these are key proponents that will help and assist within the validation phase of the project and throughout the rest of it as well too. So the options, of course, is to award the mechanical wastewater treatment facility general contractor. No, that's wrong. Tech vendor, sorry, to Suez Water Technologies and Solutions Canada. The second option would be Council of Direct Administration to bring forward more information prior to making a decision on the award of the integrated project delivery technology vendor. This will result in a significant project delay, timing to meet the requirements, permits, and directives from Saskatchewan Water Security Agency. Environment Canada has a specific window. Budget financial implications, I'm sure Council's aware of all those pieces there, so I won't reiterate that stuff. Of course, in this year's budget, we have $9 million allocated for costs incurred this year. I will open up for any questions.
Thank you, Terry. Questions? Councilor Torres.
Thank you, Your Worship. To me, there's no question the tremendous amount of research and effort that goes into picking the vendors and the interview process and everything, going through the RFP with a fine-tooth comb. And I trust everything makes sense and is perfect if we were going for it. My only big question is, what are the final evaluation scores out in terms of total possible score?
Good question. I don't even know.
I'm just wondering, because it's 504, and if it's 504 out of a possible 1,500, that scares me. I want to open it back up.
Yeah.
If it's 504 out of 600 or 550, hey, I can live with that potentially.
Yeah, I could just put a guess to that. I would assume it would be 600 plus, based on some of the scores that I've seen as for the weighting and the weighting side of things.
Yeah, I was going to say it's more than likely around that 600. Suez scored extremely well in their proposal, as well as within their interview. Obviously, there were some areas that didn't score as high as others, but I would say that would be around a 600, 650. We can get that for
At the end of the
council.
day, I don't think it's necessarily going to change my decision-making today. It was more out of curiosity, and I really hope that we didn't end up only getting four bids from, someone that couldn't score over 50%, but I don't believe that that's the truth. You're telling me that they scored really high, and you're very impressed with everything, and I trust and believe that. It was more out of curiosity.
Most of the valuation criteria, was based on 10 points. And as we talked about the scoring here, we probably averaging 7 or 8 for students.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I'm
Just
just
gonna
enough just for what you're telling me more than anything, and then there's not that many in the world that exist that create the technology specific to the type of operation that we are going to. So my best guess is there's only a handful that exist in the first place, and then you got a bid from some of the top vendors. So it makes sense. So thank you.
Councilor Quigley.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to make sure I understand this, in the administrative report, you referred to Suez as a general contractor on page 46 under item 1 options. And in the council agenda, it refers to them as a vendor to treatment facility technology vendor. So they are the technology vendor, right? They're not the general contractor.
No, that was a typo when we
Okay,
had
no problem.
the RFP. Yeah.
I just wanted to know I read these things.
Yeah. You got that one, that's good. I just caught it when I was saying it, so that's good.
For everybody's information, Terry, we've gone through a series of steps in the last couple of months with the administration working towards moving the waste product treatment plant forward. So it's just so I'm clear, I'm sure the public is clear, the general contractor was involved in this process, as well as our engineering firm that we've retained, the ISL Engineering and Land. That we've moved forward, they've been involved as well in those decisions. This wasn't simply the city made this decision, this was the group that's working through the IPD model, correct?
That's a good question, Your Worship. You are correct in that affirmation. As soon as the general contractor was awarded by this council, up to speed with the RFPs that brought forward, and obviously they were involved in that scoring factor as well. So yes, as well as our engineering consultancy. Yes.
Yeah, just the team had 2 members from our general contractor on the evaluation team, both for the interview process and RP process. The city had 4 in the proposal review, 5 in the interview process, and our owner's engineer had 2 on the project from proposals through the interview process. So we had quite an extensive team. We all scored very similarly across all avenues, so it was a very robust team.
Sure, I think that's the message I think we want to convey back to the taxpayers, that this is not being taken lightly, and we're engaging the experts in this industry, because no one, certainly our administration is well qualified for many aspects. Certainly we're working with many different experts to make this happen and this a reality, and ensure that we get the best plan for the best money that we can build. I think that's the point I really want to stress, is that we went through that. City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to answer Councilor Torson's question, hearing officers just told me the score is total out of 645.
Terrific.
Thank you, Mika.
Thank you very much. So, is there any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Worship. In the interest of keeping you out of jail, I always like to ask the question of, since we're moving forward on all of these things, has there been any correspondence back and forth about this date for our non-compliance? Are we gaining any traction on that?
I appreciate the city manager, you immediately looked at me, you gave me the signal that yes, you can put your neck in the line. I will answer that, Councilor. Thank you for that question. A letter has been written to the minister responsible for the Saskatchewan Water Security Agency, requesting an extension to our operating license that they grant to our current wastewater treatment plant and lagoon system to the end of 2023. Full explanation and update of where we are today has gone to him and to his department staff through our administration. Additionally, we're waiting patiently for the federal election to occur and pick up the conversation with the new or current Minister of Environment federally. They have been informed of everything that's gone on up to this point. making a formal application. Letter will be coming forth after the federal election once the government of the day is determined, and then we know where we're at. Pick it up from there. I have, I'll add to this, some current conversations with the city of St. John's, Newfoundland. It seems to be in the same predicament that we are in. And I spoke to the mayor at length the other day, and his response was, no, he's not got anywhere with the Minister of Environment. I said, well, I feel better because I haven't had a lot of response from our letters. And I said, what's it like to have an ML or an MP that sits in cabinet? He said, it didn't change the situation. So yeah, we work with, we all face the challenges that we face. But for the good news, we're moving forward. The bad news for them is they're still waiting. They're waiting out for money. So I wish them luck, but they have the same letter that we have, the exact same directive, just addressed to their wastewater treatment plant. So this is an issue that does exist from coast to coast. But I will keep this council informed. I look forward to seeing the minister hopefully next month or so, and I will be pressing him a little bit on his response, and hopefully getting a letter of commitment from him. And that will give us hopefully a little bargaining power with the federal government, but it's not the end of the cure all and all, because the federal government, you know, sometimes doesn't always agree with us head to head.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I knew those things were going on behind the scenes. It's just that in these proposals, we always reference that date and keeping in line with, and then you look further down, and it shows that we're not going to meet it even in the same proposal. So I thought it would be prudent to have that conversation now.
Any further comments or discussion? I'm not seeing any. I'll look for a recommendation from council. Keep me on jail, as the officer would say.
Then I'll do it.
Council Buckingham, thank you.
The council will award the mechanical wastewater treatment facility technology vendor to Suez Water Technologies and Solutions Canada.
Second, Councilor Diacek. Any further discussion before I call for the question? Not seeing any. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Terry. Keep up the good work. With that, I'm going to move on to mayor and council reports. I don't have a written report attached, but certainly in the communities, school is back, and so is the community, I could say. I had a couple events over the weekend that I had a chance to attend, and it was great. And I tell you, next Saturday is a very busy day in our city, from the toy run to Fall Fest at Bud Miller. There's many different things for people to get out, and I just hope the weather cooperates. So I encourage people to keep an eye on various media outlets, be it paper, TV, radio, Facebook, and however else they find their news. And there's always something to do in this city. I can't believe how busy our city is, and it's just terrific to see that people are volunteering, doing things, organizing. So hats off to all the volunteers again, and continue to make our city a great place. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? If not, I will ask the question, is there any other matters at this time that this council needs to deal with? Not seeing any, I'll look for inquiries from the media.
Thank you, Your Worship. Today we have requests from the media for yourself, Mayor Gerald Ellis.
Thank you very much, sir. I would look for direction for recess.
Motion recess.
Motion to recess, second. Council Fagin, all in favor? Opposed, carried.